Well, like I've mentioned it before, but for years I've run a Husqvarna chainsaw. I used to have other chainsaws, but years ago I bought this Husqvarna, and it's been a hell of a machine. Little things go wrong with it though. Like these are some rubber isolation bushings I had to replace. There's 4 of those. Just odd things. And one thing, a change I made early on was I run a PowerMate drive sprocket that allows me to run the 3/8" chain. And so I run an Oregon bar that what it actually does, the sprocket slows the chain down so the chain isn't running as fast, but it allows it to not rev the engine so high. Like you'll hear a lot, especially steel saws are notorious for this, scream like hell. Well, it burns up the chains and burns up the saw, because then it's always going, high, revving and stalling, and that's hard on the clutches and stuff. So it's nice to slow the chain down. And I like these Oregon chains rather than the Husqvarna chains. They were that thinner, smaller chain, running fast. They just didn't stay as sharp as long. I like these Oregon chains. But by running this PowerMate sprocket, it slows the chain down. It gives me more power without lugging the engine. But one thing, like today now, I was out cutting wood yesterday, and I noticed it was running lean, which I knew I had a problem. And I can't be without a chainsaw, so I had to get at this thing. I mean, I've got other smaller saws that I could fall back on, but this is the one I count on. And it turned out to be a small problem, but these saws are amazingly engineered. The way they're put together is just fascinating. Those Swedes have got away. But this is a junker that I bought years ago. And the point I was going to try to make is, if you have something, if you have an opportunity to buy a junker, by all means buy it. It'll save you so much aggravation in the long run. Because there's, like these rubber bushings I was able to pull out of this saw and put into that one. But if you lose any little screw or bolt or anything, but my problem when it was running lean, right where the fuel line comes out of the tank, it had cracked, and it was sucking air into the carburetor. Well, I was able to take it apart and splice this line, but my first thought, I was going to just pull this whole tank off, because the tank on these actually covers this whole big area, is all the tank, and it's rubber mounted with these little bushings. It's all a separate piece. Well, it's easy enough to pull them bushings out, pop the tank off. But when I started monkeying with this hose, this line from that alcohol, fuel and stuff, it's cracking. So I didn't dare to use this one. But I was able to make up a splice from my old one, but I'm going to have to bring this line in, get some the same size, and replace it. But I've got a whole box of junk parts. But it's so handy because, like say, I know like I'm running the junk recoil, because this recoil was binding up. Well, I could easily fix this recoil, but it was a lot easier to pull that other one off and just stick it on. But for every little screw and nut and bolt, it's just extremely handy to have a spare machine. If you've got the opportunity to get a junker, by all means do it. Saves you a lot of cost and aggravation.